What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel. Want to give a shout out to the rest of the crew. I'm talking about Shy, Kelvin, and Jermaine, along with Kobe Bryant Film Room and Big Dog Sports TV. If everyone who's tuning in, we hope that you support Behind the Bench, become a subscriber, and help make this show the best that it can be. And as I check the latest tally, we now have like 1,260 subscribers. That's awesome, man. So I always say we're doing something right, and it's a winning combination. So we're just going to keep on doing it. I believe we have a very unique channel. We try to bring as authentic a perspective as possible as sports fans. And, I'm very proud about that, because the most important thing that you can do, not just in sports, but just through life experience, is uphold history. And as they say, if you understand the past, then you can act appropriately during the present, and you can shape the type of future that you want. And I know I'm throwing it out there, but that's just what came to mind. But this picture right here, man, we're talking about the NBA. This was a game during the 2017-2018 season between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers. This was the second match of that season, where the Lakers faced the Sixers on the road in Philly, right? Now, earlier that season, the Sixers beat the Lakers at what was formerly known as Staples Center, which is now buildcrypto.com. And Joel Embiid, the reigning league MVP, he put on the show. He scored something like 48, 49 points in that game, right? Okay, so he got the best of us. He got the best of the Lakers. At the end of the day, it is what it is. But in that second encounter, you started to see the young core begin to grow, develop their chemistry, understanding where certain players need to be positioned on the floor for the best possible shot possible on a particular possession, particularly during the stretch, the home stretch of games in the fourth quarter. And I remember the play like it was yesterday. The Lakers got the rebound off of a missed jump shot by the Sixers. Lonzo Ball brings the ball, no pun intended. He brings the basketball down the court. He crosses half court. And it was a beautiful play, too. And I remember Luke Walton, who was the head coach then, he did not call a timeout. And you can tell right there during that sequence that Luke Walton was an understudy of Phil Jackson. Because Phil Jackson, a lot of times, instead of calling a timeout, he would allow the team to dictate what they needed to do to overcome a deficit, maintain a deficit, pull off an improbable win, or whatnot, right? And Luke learned a lot from playing under Phil Jackson during the championship run from 2008 through 2010, right? And Lonzo Ball goes baseline, right baseline. He draws the defense towards him. and he kicks it out to an open Brandon Ingram, who calmly attempted a 3-point shot, and you knew as soon as he released the ball, it was good. It was cash. And it was such a big shot. It created such excitement. Julius Randle was, he was so excited running down the court. He was raising his arms up in victory. And as you can see right here, Larry Nance Jr., he bear hugs Ingram. That was a big shot. That was a big shot. It was a money shot on the road in hostile territory versus a team who probably, during the years of Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, that was probably their best team. That was probably their best team they had. And the Lakers prevailed and beat them. And you can just see the excitement and pride that Laker fans had, knowing the level of talent and competitiveness and commitment that their young core showcased on that day, on that night, and throughout the course of that season. The one thing that I've never heard Laker fans or fellow Laker fans say during that season was that their young core didn't play hard, they didn't hustle, they didn't give it all they got. And the majority of those games during that season came down to the wire, about the last 4 or 5 minutes of those games. And if they did fall short, it was only because of youth and inexperience. It wasn't because they didn't play defense. It wasn't because they didn't execute offensively. They were one of the better scoring teams in the NBA, especially once the second unit started to, really bring forth force off their bench. And you felt so good, man. You was like, wow, man. And during that season, mind you, the Lakers beat Philadelphia. They split the 2 games during the regular season. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James playing for Cleveland. Kevin Love was still on the team. And I remember when they lost to him in Cleveland, that was a national televised game. And Cleveland beat the Lakers by like only 8 points. But the Lakers beat Cleveland in LA by close to 20 points. And Julius Randle scored over 30 by like 32, 34 points that game. And they split the 2 games during the regular season between the Boston Celtics when Kyrie Irving was on the team. And I believe they split the 4 games between them and the Houston Rockets when James Harden won league MVP. They split, I believe, the 4 games between the Denver Nuggets. And the 4 games they played versus the defending champion Golden State Warriors, prime Golden State Warriors with prime KD, they forced overtime 2 times. The 3rd game, they lost by like 4 to 5 points. In only 1 game, they lost by double figures, and that was because like 2 of our primary starters were out due to injury. And they lost that game on the road at the Oracle Arena, right? So you can see literally, and as I like to highlight, that young core generated a 10th rate defense throughout the majority of their season. They had one of the highest paced teams in the NBA. At one point, they had the highest paced team of any other squad in the league. And they had one of the top scoring second units in the NBA. They had all the elements there. It was all there. And by season's end, They generated a point differential of -1. This was driven by a young core team featuring predominantly one and done players leading the starting five. And Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. You can go back and look at the progression of any team starting over with young players, particularly in this one and done era of basketball, and you will not see another team at that stage of development generate a point differential of -1. I guarantee it, because I've already looked. I've already looked. Not the Memphis Grizzlies, not the Phoenix Suns, not the Minnesota Timberwolves. Any team who was starting over at that point. Heck, the point differential of the Laker team featuring the five Hall of Famers, the five top 75 players on the roster, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, and Carmelo Anthony, their point differential by season's end was close to -3. This year's team point differential prior to last night was greater than -1. So the metric shows how advanced this young core really was, playing in the Western Conference with a prime Golden State featuring Kevin Durant. Right? Okay. So the reason I'm doing this video here is because the irony of it all, and it just shows you. See, when I talk about this young core, I'm not thinking of them individually. It's a collection. It's like where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's how special this young core was. They was ahead of their time. They was ahead of their time. So when you try to explain it to other Laker fans, they just scoff at it because, and I get it, man, because of the era of basketball that we've been presented with over the past 15 years, where super teams have become the norm when it's anything but normal. Well, you reinforce something long enough, you start to believe this is the only way to success, right? So you're going to say, we're going to buck true development. We want the shortcut. We want it right now. Well, look at where the franchise stands now. There's more questions than answers. There's more unpredictability than anything predictable. Instability rather than stability. See, before all this started, you had your answers was there because your answers was the future. The predictability was you figure the more experience that young players gain competing in this league, the better they're going to get, especially if they work hard at it. And they improve from the previous season by 10 games, 10 games in the Western Conference. Because remember what fans were saying that season. If this Lakers squad was playing in the Eastern Conference, they would have made the playoffs. This team would have made the playoffs in 2018 if they played in the East. That's what a lot of basketball, well, not necessarily pundits, but basketball analysts, basketball journalists were saying about their young core team. So the irony of this is, as of right now, there's a long way to go. To try to, rationalize this whole process of preempting a whole era of real Laker basketball. That's essentially what has happened over these past 5.5 seasons. An entire era of real future Laker basketball was preempted. It was erased. That's what happened. It's not, see, like I said, you don't see a situation where you're starting all over. A dude comes in who specializes in tactics where he's going to take your young talent, flip it around to bring in superstars that benefit him. See, it's more about him than the team. And slowly but surely, more fans of this franchise are starting to see that. Or they may have seen it all along, but because of the constant disappointment by season's end, other than that season that culminated in the bubble, they're beginning to become frustrated and they want to move on, per se. Because when you go all in with this guy, he's going to force the organization to leave no stone unturned. And that's exactly what has happened in record time. But the irony of it is, to rationalize this, fans have been led to say and counter with this argument: what if the young core won? They're not any good. That's not what they said before they brought that guy to this franchise during the summer 2018. I didn't see one Laker fan say that their young core wasn't no good. Not one. When I say not one, I mean not one. Right? Not when you improve by 10 games. Not when you are for an extended duration of that season. A rookie point guard helped generate the number one pace in the NBA compared to any other team in the league. More experienced teams. Right? Championship team. Golden State Warriors. That rookie point guard, Lonzo Ball, generated a faster pace than Golden State Warriors led by Steph Curry. The Houston Rockets led by James Harden. Heck, the Cleveland Cavaliers led by LeBron James. I mean, we can go down the line. Any fast-paced team, Lonzo Ball did that. And you know why? Because a big reason why Lonzo Ball, even with the unorthodox shot, look at his statistics. His statistics mirror that of Jason Kidd's rookie year when he entered the pros during the 1994-95 season, where he won Colt Rookie of the Year with Grant Hill. Look at their stats during their rookie season. It's carbon copy. Carbon copy. I'm talking about points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game. Jason Kidd did not have a good jump shot or a reliable jump shot when he entered the league, as most rookies do when they enter the pros. It's nothing new, right? Because they're rookies. Okay. Like I said, I've never seen a situation where fans have been led to. What's disappointing about this whole situation is that to try to rationalize this process, it's a Jedi mind trick that's going on. It's a Jedi mind trick that's going on. But it will not last. Reality will kick in sooner or later. But their young core has been so disregarded, it's almost as if they was never drafted by this franchise. But the irony is, everything that the Lakers have tried to attempt in pursuing an all-time shortcut scenario or formula to win, it stands on the shoulders of those 14 young men who were drafted by this organization from 2014 to 2018. Without their presence on this team, if they weren't good enough, they never would have been able to acquire Anthony Davis. And it was nasty the way it went down, man. It was ugly. It was brutal. But it didn't matter. But see, the way you go about doing something, well, whatever means that you try to accomplish that goal, when challenges surface or confront you, then you see the error that was committed in trying to achieve that particular result. That triggered a scenario where year after year after year, because you mortgaged the future away to acquire Anthony Davis, they're devoid of their own natural talent and they have to overhaul the roster every year. So when you hear commentary or thought that would try to convince themselves, they're trying to convince themselves that mortgaging all those draft picks don't mean anything. Well, the facts are proving otherwise. Because a franchise has never done that, where you mortgage away 7 years worth of draft rights, centering on one singular trade. It was unprecedented how that went down. But let's get to the point of this. The irony is, they said the young course never won. But if you pull back the pages of NBA history, there's a lot of superstars who didn't win a championship, and they were among the best ever to do it. Or if they did win a championship, some superstars, they didn't win until their 9th year. Some their 10th year. Some their 13th year. Some their 17th or 18th season. See, that's not even a logical argument to present. It's not. Because we're talking about young men on the average 19 years old entering this league. And if there ever was a scenario where a collection of 19-year-olds drafted by one team win a championship out the box, right out the gate, there's something wrong with the league that they're playing in. There's something, the league has been severely compromised. You see what I'm saying? Okay. But what was ironic about the situation is that last night, Brandon Ingram generated a 28-point triple-double. 28 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists for the New Orleans Pelicans and helping lead them to a win, a victory, right? Larry Nance Jr., another drafted player by the Los Angeles Lakers. He's playing tremendous basketball for that team as the backup. Tremendous. Because what did he say when he was drafted? He said he wanted to be the jack of all trades. Well, that is his gift as a reserve player, where you can play him in a quote unquote small ball lineup, but he's good enough to get rebounds. He's athletic enough to make plays. He's improved his defense. He can switch out up top on pick and rolls, and he can hit the 3-point shot now, right? And he does have some leadership intangibles about him. You know, players down there, they respond to him. And when he was out due to injury, the team struggled starting out. But as soon as he was returned back and was added to the team's rotation, the Pelicans have been playing much better. And as of right now, they stand as the 5th seed in the West. Jordan Clarkson, the only original Laker to ever win 6th Man of the Year. in history of the NBA. In 2021, he helped the Utah Jazz clinch the number 1 seed in the West. Going into the matter of fact, the best record in the league heading into the playoffs, when their best player, Donovan Mitchell, missed the last 2 months of the season due to a severe sprained ankle. Well, Jordan Clarkson, along with, other primary players of the Utah Jazz, when they return back from injury, Utah's been on the roll. Now, they did lose tonight to Oklahoma City Thunder, but nonetheless, they've won 8 out of their last 10 games, and they stand as the number 9th seed in the West. But they're over 500, right? Julius Randle and Josh Hart has played tremendous for the New York Knicks. Matter of fact, last season when the Knicks traded for Josh Hart, I believe they won like their first 7 games with Josh Hart in the lineup, right? Okay. The New York Knicks won tonight, and the irony is both the Knicks and the Pelicans are 8 games over 500. And I believe the Knicks, with their win tonight, they held on to beat, who did they play tonight? The Washington Wizards, right? The Knicks have to be around the 5th or 6th seed in the East right now, right? And they did advance to the conference semifinals last year. And if Julius Randle had not injured his ankle, which required off-season surgery, there's a very good chance they would advance to the conference finals last year. They upset the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round, and they beat them pretty soundly, right? But they're making contributions to where they are helping the Knicks to regain their presence in the league as a contender in the Eastern Conference for the first time really since prime Carmelo Anthony. Right? Okay. Ivica Zubac for the Clippers. Ever since James Harden was traded to the team and has been involved more in the offense, the Clippers went on the roll, right? And as of right now, they stand in 4th place in the Western Conference as we speak. He's improved on his defense tremendously. And quiet as it's kept, he's very important in their offense because he sets screens for the primary scorers on the team, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and then James Harden at times and Charles Mann, to free them up to get easier shot attempts. He's very important to that team, right? And Kyle Kuzma, if he was playing on a real team, like a playoff level team, he would be contributing to wins because of his ability to hit big shots, to close out games in the fourth quarter. Because I've seen him do it his first 2 years with the Wizards, before they, traded away the best player, Bradley Beal, and then Kristaps Porzingis this offseason. The irony is, outside of Kuzma in D.C., he shouldn't have. He don't even have no business being in D.C. But that guy had him traded because he wanted a third superstar on Russell Westbrook, and that had disaster written all over. He not even supposed to be in D.C. Trade him to a quality team and see what he do. The irony is, all those teams outside of D.C. and Washington, they all have a better record than the Lakers right now. That's the irony. That's the irony. Those young men have had to reestablish their careers with teams that had been struggling before they got there. But slowly but surely, they are outperforming the Lakers. Just imagine what they would be doing if they was wearing the jersey that they was destined to represent when they was drafted. They would have a much better record than this current representation of the Lakers have right now. No doubt in my mind. I just want to drop there until next time. This is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.